Yes, David Bowie was the chameleon of rock, but Mick Jagger is the undisputed king of changing accents. For example, does he call his bandmate Keith or Keith? So the Rolling Stones got a new album out, the first for 18 years, right? It's called Hackney Diamonds. So the point is, does Mick say Hackney Diamonds or Acne Diamonds? Let's find out. First though, let's look at Mick's background and roots to work out where he's from and why he speaks the way he does. So Mick was born in Dartford in Kent, which is 18 miles south-east of central London. In fact, it's pretty close to where I grew up. I grew up about 30 miles from Mick, in fact. So Mick comes from quite a well-to-do middle-class family, and he is considered one of the first celebrities to change his accent to make it a bit more street, maybe a bit more cockney, and we'll go into the details of that. Okay, now it's time to check out an audio file of Mick speaking on the BBC. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in a minute.
When we first went to Chicago and recorded in Chess Records, I mean, what the people thought about us there then, I absolutely, I mean, they must have thought it was like wacky. And, you know, these kids from London, they probably didn't understand the way we spoke and the way we looked. And why did we want to play that?
So you can practice the word
Chicago.
Chicago, if you want a really good southeast of England accent, practice this word, Chicago. So he also uses the glottal stop a lot, so that's a big feature of him, and he adopted that very early on.
About thought.
Do you notice he didn't say the T at the end of the word, the T sound, so he sort of swallows that, and that's a typical feature of how he speaks. Now the other interesting thing is, he doesn't adopt Cockney features such as saying f for th. If you hear him say thought, he says it just like me, so he says
thought,
right? So he says th sound. So the fact is that probably he says Keith rather than Keith for Keith Richards, right? Now also interestingly, he sounds a bit posh when he says absolutely.
Absolutely.
The King's English, that word is indeed. Now, like many rockers of the 60s and 70s, he mixes the old and the new, but he does it pretty seamlessly. I mean, he says it was like wacky.
Like wacky.
So he uses the modern like, as in a sort of filler, right? But he uses wacky, which is a sort of slightly old school word now, I would say. And I've even heard Keith Richards call people cats still. I mean, he didn't call cats cats, he called people cats, like people did in the 1960s. All right, should we do some practice? Because I think it's good to sort of try and sound or emulate Mick. So I think we should practice this sentence, which shows all of his features in one thing. Here we go. So, well, I've always thought that Keith was an absolutely wacky guitarist. And remember this thing about Hackney Diamonds? I reckon he doesn't drop his H. I haven't got it on the audio, but I can't prove it. But if you listen to interviews, I don't think he drops his H's, right? So I'm pretty sure the final word is that he would say Hackney Diamonds, right? Hackney is actually a place in London. Now, the other big thing that Mick does, just like a chameleon, he changes and adapts according to the situation he's in. Now, for the last couple of years on the internet, there's been stories in the media about his nanny, former nanny, who has said some things about the way he speaks at home and when he's Mick the rock star persona. So this is a quote from a newspaper source that I've read, and it states the following. Sir Mick Jagger secretly speaks the Queen's English, now the King's English, when he's at home, but adopts a Mockney accent when he's in his rock star persona. Now, Mockney is like fake Cockney. It comes from mock Cockney. And actors talk in a bit of a Cockney accent, right? So, but they are a bit fake. So therefore, he might be the founding father of the Estuary accent. So Estuary is the modern way of speaking in the southeast of England. And he was really the first person to do this. So did he kickstart the Estuary English accent? Now, if you really don't know what Estuary is, I've done a couple of videos that I'll link in the description below, and you can look further as to what Estuary is. So, as you can probably hear, Mick has quite a loose way of speaking. It's certainly not posh, but it's not real cockney, it's somewhere in between. I mean, he's obviously spent a lot of time in London, and I think he's really retained his British accent. Although when he sings, now if we get onto his singing, quite often he sings in this American sort of blues, delta, whatever you call it, accent, like Jumping Jack Flash, remember that? There's a lot of references to the old blues artists which they really respected, and the British rockers really loved those American blues artists, and I think in his singing he wanted to emulate them but also be open to the American audience that they were going to have. I mean, it was a huge audience and they catered for them in a way. And I think it's a fairly good way to end the Mick Jagger accent story. And this is what I believe. I think that Mick's accent is 100% calculated. He's a very smart guy and his vision was to be a rock star, and he didn't want to sound posh, whereas Brian Jones, he retained Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones, he retained this sort of poshness, but Mick thought, right, I'm gonna speak in a street kind of a way, drop some of my consonant sounds, but retain my vowels, and I think it was 100% calculated. So I hope that wraps up Mick Jagger's accent for you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to set the notifications as well. And on that note, like a rolling stone who can't get no satisfaction, I'm out of here. See you later. Thank you. Bye. Stay connected. Alright, stay connected now.